I used to believe that family was like a house, solid, warm, a place that holds you up when the world outside goes cold. But that November evening, standing on the porch of the home I grew up in, a chill cut through my coat like a quiet accusation. That's when it hit me. Some houses are made of glass. They look beautiful from a distance, but lean on them even slightly, and they'll shatter. My children clung to my hands, the little fingers wrapped around mine, the breath rising in soft clouds as daylight faded. I knocked. No one came to the door. I didn't realize it then, but I had already become a ghost in their lives. I'm Luke, and this is the weight I've carried in silence, a truth lodged in my chest like a stone. That night, when I finally stepped inside my parents' kitchen, the air was thick with rosemary and something heavier, regret. My daughter Sophie clutched my sleeve, her wide eyes scanning the room like she could feel the fault lines beneath our feet. My son Theo held a pecan pie I'd carefully baked that morning. His grip tight like the dessert was the only thing keeping him grounded. The dining table was immaculate, set for 10. Polished cutlery, linen napkins folded into crisp, elegant shapes, like promises no one intended to keep. But there were no seats for us, no place cards with our names, no high chair for Sophie, no booster for Theo, just the unmistakable message, you don't belong here. My mother, Grace, stood at the sink, furiously scrubbing a pan that didn't need cleaning. My father, Henry, stared blankly out the window, his whiskey glass catching the last rays of sunlight like some kind of distress signal. Caleb, my brother, lounged across the couch, his laughter sharp and careless, like broken glass. His wife, Mara, hovered nearby, her smile brittle, barely holding together. "Happy Thanksgiving," I said, voice tight as a fraying thread. Nobody looked up. My sister Nora, ever the diplomat, offered a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Luke, we weren't sure you were coming." I blinked. "You invited me." She shrugged, fingers twisting a dish towel. "Caleb thought you might have changed your mind." Sophie tugged at my coat. "Daddy, where do we sit?" I scanned the room again. 10 chairs, 10 plates, no room for 3 more. Nora cleared her throat. We set up a little table in the den. Pizza, a movie. The kids'll have fun. Theo looked up at me, quiet, thoughtful. He didn't say anything, but his silence asked the question out loud. Why don't they want us here? I settled them in the den. Paper plates, cartoons flickering on the TV. Sophie's crayons rolled across the carpet. Theo pulled a blanket over her, his hands careful, like he was building a fortress for them both. I smoothed Sophie's hair, adjusted Theo's jacket. He leaned in close. "When are we going home?" he whispered, his voice softer than the hum of the television. "Soon," I said, forcing the words through a tight throat. "Not just yet." Back in the kitchen, the atmosphere had shifted. Caleb's laughter rang out, loose and soaked in bourbon. Grace poured herself another glass of wine, watching it fill like it might offer an answer. I placed my casserole on the counter beside untouched hors d'oeuvres, the rising steam curling into the air like a plea. "We might head out after dessert," I offered, testing the waters. No one replied. Caleb raised his glass, grinning. "Always on the move. Huh, Luke? Single dad life, never a day off." Mara let out a laugh, high-pitched and overbright. "We get it, Mr. Independent." Their words stung, not loud or cruel, just sharp enough to cut. I straightened, my pulse roaring like a drumbeat in my ears. "Actually," I said, voice calm, deliberate, "there's something I need to say." The room went still. Mara's smile slipped. Nora set her glass down. Even my father turned to look at me, his gaze sharp like I'd rearranged the furniture of his life without asking. "I'm done," I said. "Done carrying the weight of everyone else." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The midnight phone calls when bills pile up. The errands for Mom's medication. The loans I gave when Caleb's business dreams fell apart. I've done it. All of it. And I'm done. Caleb let out a derisive snort. What? Splitting a phone bill means you our savior now. I didn't flinch. We both knew he hadn't paid his own rent in years. Grace's hand went still in the sink. Her voice came quiet but sharp. We never asked you to do any of that, Luke. The silence that followed didn't just hang in the air. It fell like a blade. I gathered Sophie's little coat, draped it over my arm. Theo stood silently in the doorway, holding a half-eaten slice of pizza, the same question lingering in his eyes. I gave him a small nod. It was time to go. We drove home through streets brushed with the season's first snow, the kind that turns everything quiet and soft. In the back seat, the heads leaned gently together, fast asleep. The car smelled of warm pie and the kind of hopes you keep locked inside, just for yourself. I cracked the window, let the freezing air sting my cheek, maybe to remind me of what I didn't want to admit. I wasn't part of their structure anymore. I had been the scaffolding, temporary support while everything else shook. Now the storm had passed, and they had no need for what held them up. A few days passed before the call started. Nora was first, her voice tight, uncertain. Voicemail stacked up like bills I never asked for. Hey, just checking in. The kids okay? Dad's been asking. Then Grace left a few scattered messages, vague, rushed. We've got a situation here. Call when you can. By Friday, Mara didn't even bother with a call. Just a text. Heads up. Caleb's in some trouble. Can you come by? Trouble. That was the word they used when Caleb drained 15 grand from Dad's account chasing another doomed crypto fantasy. Trouble. When the bank flagged the mortgage and the foreclosure notice hit their door like a scarlet letter. They didn't call to make things right. They called because the glass house was cracking, and they needed someone to hold up the walls. Nora showed up at my place without warning, a bag of bagels in hand, eyes tired and rimmed with worry. It's bad, she said, pacing my kitchen. Caleb really screwed up. Mom and Dad, they can't manage this alone. They need help. They need you. I leaned against the counter, watching my phone blink with unread messages. That phrase echoed in my head like a hammer. They need me. I looked her in the eye. But where were they when I needed someone? When Sophie was in and out of the hospital, and I was pulling double shifts just to afford her meds. When Theo kept asking why no one ever called on his birthday. Nora looked down, fingers twisting the handle of the bag. They're family, Luke, she said quietly. You've always been the one to fix things. I exhaled, slow and steady. And for the first time in a long while, I felt something lift. I'm not that builder anymore, I said. That job's done. That night, I found Sophie curled in my bed, her small frame pressed against mine like a space she knew was safe. Theo had fallen asleep on the couch, a book still resting on his chest, fingers clutching it like a bedtime shield. On the fridge, a crayon drawing glowed under a magnet, 3 stick figures beneath a crooked sun. Me, Sophie, Theo, no one missing. Once, I believed that love meant carrying every weight, being the bridge everyone else crossed when they needed to get somewhere better. But I've learned something different. Love isn't about bearing everyone's burdens. It's about choosing who you build your home with. My children, my heart, this small, sturdy life. And that's enough. Eventually, the coal stopped. The family house sold. The pieces of what once was scattered to the wind like autumn leaves. I don't know if they landed safely. I hope so, but I'm not turning around to find out. I'm here, in the sound of Sophie's laughter, in the quiet resilience that Theo carries without saying a word. We're laying down brick by brick, creating something no storm can break. If any part of this story touched something in you, if you've ever felt like the scaffolding for someone else's life, leave a comment. Tell me your story. Let's build something that lasts.